No! Yeah! Jesus! Ah. Fuck!
I've wanted to make this video for several years. It may seem underwhelming, but this topic has not left my mind since I first bought Generation Zero. Before we get into the main part of the video, I'd like to take a quick second to introduce Generation Zero. It takes place in Sweden in 1989 in a fictional place called Östertorn. You are a college student, and your objective in the game is to find why there are murder machines everywhere, and why there are no visible people on the entire island, as well as this mystery that is kind of unraveled through the game of a mysterious figure called Phoenix. Now, back to the video. I bought it on Steam on July 28th, 2020, when I was in my early teens, and throughout my time with this game, I've played 140 hours-ish, completed most achievements, spare for some of the more aggravating ones, and I now feel like I have the experience to finally talk about my mixed feelings about this game, considering the developers have announced their third and final update. As I just said, my feelings are pretty bipolar when it comes to this game. So I'm going to separate the video into chapters and then sections within each chapter. Two other things. I don't want to spoil this game for anyone who hasn't tried it, but there are going to be some major and minor spoilers sprinkled throughout this video, so if you don't want the story or details spoiled, play the game first and then come back later. And 2, Systemic Reaction has just released a resistance letter on November 5th of this year describing their new update, the Final Showdown, will be their last. Naturally, I have some feelings about this, but seeing as about 90% of the script was already written before the newsletter was released, I'm going to tack those on right at the end. Moving on to Chapter 1. Story. This was an especially interesting story for me because I'm very interested in media that covers things such as alternate history, science fiction, and AI. One of the most well-designed things about Generation Zero is that every house contains a story. Every location contains its own individual story with its set of characters and its antagonist and protagonist.
Hello? Hello? Yeah, this is Lieutenant Lynch, man. Yeah, there's 75 men around our building and they're shooting at us in Mount Carmel. Mount Carmel? Yeah, tell them there are children and women in here and to call it off. All right, hello? I hear gunfire. Oh, shit. Hello? Who is it? Hello? Call it off! Who is it? Hello? Yeah, this is Lynch. Hey, Lynch? Yeah. That's kind of a funny name there. No.
It is easily one of the most interesting aspects of Generation Zero, and I'm incredibly happy that Systemic Reaction was able to continue creating such beautiful set pieces throughout their updates, continually creating new and interesting storylines, both big and small, to add to the ever-expanding map world design. The whole of Generation Zero's map is well made. Every inch feels like it could be a real place in Sweden, and the carnage left over from the machine attacks gives a feel of foreboding that really makes it intense. Turning to the more player-driven part of the world, the safe houses are very welcome. Field radios run out eventually, and they make the game feel much more lived in. The atmosphere of Generation Zero was also perfectly crafted to hone in on this feeling of isolation. Also, the experience is just made so much better when you're playing alone, too. I know it's not funny to not have friends or whatever, but, like, not having friends to play this game with made it a lot more enjoyable, I'm gonna be honest. It would be a lot less engaging and fun if I was just dicking around the whole time, blowing shit up. Makes you really feel the atmosphere. Antagonists. First off, we have the runners. Very cool design, although I find it a little hard to believe that the manufacturers would continue having the fuel cell so easily exposed, especially in the Phoenix and APOC models. I don't really agree with that. Hunters. Holy fuck, these guys are cool. And horrifying. They kind of stalk you through the forests in packs of 2 or 3 sometimes, and it's just absolutely terrifying. I love it. Especially in the early game, these guys are just the worst thing you could encounter. They're a huge drain on your ammo and your medkits, so these guys are a huge thing to avoid in the early game. For the harvesters, I love their design and their purpose in the lore as, a gathering method for more materials to build more machines. But my 2 main, gripes with them is that they're too annoying because of their rocket attacks, and they're kind of hard to hit, the rockets, like the missile silos on their ass. They're pretty hard to hit when you're getting shot at by like 3 hunters that they summoned. Tanks. These are Generation Zero's mascots, very often put in marketing or trailers. The Lynxes. Now we're getting into the Soviet machines. The Lynxes are kind of just a bunch of roly-poly little funky glass cannons. Their biggest Achilles heel is being shot on the little bars on the sides, kind of connecting the ball to the rest of the machine contraption, and they also get deployed from wolves or travel in packs of 4 or 5 if I remember correctly. And that transitions perfectly to the wolves. The wolves are super cool. They stalk the north coast, they attack Swedish machines with the assistance of Firebirds and the Lynxes they produce, and their Gatling gun is just really annoying, but I like it because it compensates for their pretty much useless rockets. And that leads to the Firebirds. Absolutely the most angering and disgustingly weird thing about this game. Their humming is absolutely horrific, and it's far enough away to be able to be just out of your view so you can hear them, but you can't see them, but it can definitely see you, which is not fun. Also, depending on what flavor they come in, ranging from zesty to homicidal fidget spinner, they can have anything from a fire-afflicting machine gun to what feels like a fucking automatic howitzer. Guns. Many of the guns in Generation Zero are useful in more than one capacity. Assault rifles and submachine guns can take down anything from a tick to a hunter. Snipers and rocket launchers can focus on things like weak spots and airborne targets, and the Moiler PP can rot in hell after 3 hours of gameplay. All guns in Generation Zero serve some sort of purpose. From the time you start the game to the time you finish the Phoenix Rising DLC and more, everything serves its purpose, except for the AG5. I will die on this hill. That is a damn useless gun. Compare the stats. It's useless. Use the AL-76. Don't care. Attachments. Systemic Reaction has implemented attachments pretty well in Generation Zero. I don't feel like I really have much to say on them, aside from one thing that I'll save for later. Or 2 things. Items. I don't really use as many utility items as some people do. For instance, I rarely rely on things such as fireworks, EMPs, flares, explosive barrels, landmines, smoke grenades, and placeable ammunition or health packs. I mostly rely on carrying an absurd amount of ammo and unloading into anything I look at. Leveling and cosmetics. For the most part, I kinda love the leveling in Generation Zero. I know it's a bit slow to level up, but this stagnation kind of pushes you into a specific direction. It doesn't just look at you and say, well, pick whatever you want, it's not going to matter. It tells you, this is going to matter. What you are doing will matter. what you choose will have consequences. So pick wisely. Alright, before I get into the negatives, might be a lot, but I promise it all comes from a place of passion, and I hope that some developers at Systemic Reaction watch this and understand that this isn't a heavy-handed, aggravated, sinister criticism of their game. I am looking at a game that I absolutely adore, and I want it to improve. Story. Most of my gripes with the story of Generation Zero come down to the mishandling of the Phoenix Rising DLC. This DLC, released in 2020, was decent enough gameplay-wise, but when it came down to the story, I was left a little baffled. My two biggest issues are, why the hell was this not a map expansion? And why the hell can you access the end of the story so soon in the game? To tackle number one, Alpine Unrest released only a year prior, in 2019, and was miles better when it came to world building. We got a new map, we got new NPCs, we got fucking new classes, which at this point hadn't been seen yet. This was the first thing we saw for these. Like, can you imagine the sheer fucking horror? You're walking through just, pure white, and you see a runner, you shoot it, and you hear this ungodly Lovecraftian screech as 13 hunters come up and it's not nice, and they have flamethrowers. I would have liked another island, or maybe an underground area, perhaps. That's it. To tackle number two, this might be a pretty weird take, and my current save file is pretty late in the game, so I might be a little out of touch right now. But I can pretty vividly remember getting much of the Archipelago region done, and seeing the first mission of the Phoenix Rising DLC appear. I was a little, weirded out, and I looked at it, and then I went to it, and then it actually started letting me play the game. Like, what the fuck? I've got the first thing, I've got the first region completed, and you're already letting me beat the game. Like, the story of the game. Like, why? Why is this a thing? That's about it for the story. I really liked most of the story in the main game, as well as both the Alpine Unrest DLC and the Soviet Machines update. World design. Okay, this one might get heated at the end, but we'll see what happens. First things first, most of the houses in this game are like the same ones, the same 10 different fucking houses, with minor changes in shades of color and furniture. Now, okay, me personally, I really don't care, but in the early game, it's really noticeable, so it might turn less invested players away. My suggestion is kind of moving these to the more, center of the game. And number two, who the fuck put the med packs on the goddamn impossible ledges next to a light switch? I can't pick it up without clicking the E button 900 times. Fuck you. Guns. I don't really have much to hate on with the guns in Generation Zero, aside from the fact that the AG5 is, again, complete waste of space. Oh wait, hold on. What do I have here? Oh yeah, hunting rifles. I love using them, but they're fucking useless past the Archipelago region. Why? You could say that they're useful on runners, you could say that they're useful in the forest region or the farmlands region, but no way in hell am I carrying an extra gun with extra ammo, with extra attachments that takes up precious weight points out of my inventory that I could be using for semlas, when I can use a rocket launcher and evaporate my problems instead. Attachments. Okay, 3 problems on this one. 1. Red dot sights are fucking useless. Unless they're on a low recoil weapon and a 3 crown or higher. I see no point in gluing a shit-covered bottle cap to my iron sights and hoping to God I hit something. 2. This one's a nitpick, but I don't care. The rocket launcher does not have optics. It has never had optics. I don't know if it will ever get optics. I want optics for it. It has the option for them to be added. We have the button. Why is it there? You can't use it. Why even include it? I don't know why. And I don't think the devs do either. Number 3, it has been multiple years, and there is still no new sights. I don't really know why. I mean, it could be that there's not really a reason. I mean, we have shotgun sights, handgun sights, rifle sights, sniper sights. and the red dot. And that's it. We have nothing else. I even find myself using iron sights half the time, especially on the AL-76. I love it. Machines. Ticks. I really hate them. You're obviously supposed to, but they're just really annoying and they serve, like, pretty much no purpose. But aside from the lore reasons with espionage, I really don't care gameplay-wise. There's no reason these should even be here. Don't like them. The Seekers, these ceiling fan-looking ass motherfuckers love to spot you at just the worst times and then release a fucking air raid siren when they do. And their only redeeming factor is that they're basically not in the game. I mean, I've killed a few hundred, I think, but that's in over 140 hours of gameplay. 150 as of recording this. In my experience, they're usually in the Archipelago and Farmlands region, and I don't spend a ton of time in those regions. So, I'm glad, but, like, these guys are pretty much useless. Items. I really have nothing for this one. All items are useful in someone's hands. Really don't care enough to talk about them, gonna be honest. Same thing with leveling the cosmetics. Cosmetics are their own fucking thing. I don't know why you can, like, pick up the same cosmetic repeatedly. Like, it doesn't stack. You can't get rid of it to sell more. I don't know why I've picked up, like, 300 beanies of the same color, and it just stacks into one beanie. I have no idea why they do that. I have great respect for the devs for not making the cosmetics paid, except for some of them. Fuck you. The UI. I didn't say anything about the UI in the positive section. You might have noticed that. And that's because I think it's absolutely horrendous. I've seen Systemic Reaction revamp, and every time it gets a little better, but somehow it still misses the mark. It's hard to pinpoint why I actually hate it. A lot of it seems to stem, at least to me, from the clunkiness of rearranging your guns and dealing with picking up and dropping items, but I've gotten so fucking jaded towards it that I just don't care now. Chapter 3. Closing Thoughts and the Final Showdown. I'm not a game developer. I have no clue how to make games. My closest relation to making games is RPG Maker MZ. However, I am a consumer who wants this particular game to thrive as long as possible. In the wild scenario that somehow this video makes it to someone at Systemic Reaction, I would like to offer some of my personal suggestions for the final update of Generation Zero. Make it an in-depth story expansion, possibly even larger than Alpine Unrest. No more paid DLCs. Please stop. We don't need... What is this? Let me look at this. We don't need Motorbikes pack. We don't need Flak Moped pack. Please fix the UI. Please give me more flying enemies. They're horrifying. Please give me another scope or two. And can you make the NPCs a little less freaky looking? Thank you. Alright. After all that, it might have been a little much. But to conclude, I've taken a long time to gather my thoughts on this game. My emotions have mostly been all over the place with this. Every time they release a new update, I get completely scrambled. It's taken me over half a dozen scripts to fully figure out what I wanted to say on this game. And it may seem like I dislike it, but I don't. I see its issues. I think this is a phenomenal game, and the incredibly talented developers at Systemic Reaction should be proud to have created such an incredible and entertaining game. I'm Dante. Thank you for watching.